I think that when you get older, I think that you don't lose your fire, you just become more directional with it and more succinct at describing it. So whereas in the early days, you know, we just get like, ah! Now we're like, ah, ah, ah. Hi, my name is Skin from Skunk Anansie, and these are my 5 definitive Skunk Anansie tracks. Week was one of those songs that was like, kind of like undulating for good 8 years, because it stemmed from the experience I had when I was a teenager. I had a violent boyfriend. And I think that, you know, sometimes it's when you're away from a topic that you can actually talk about it with a bit more kind of honesty and authenticity, because when you're in it, it's harder to kind of find the words to describe it. So I remember we were doing the first album and we were working with Sylvia Massey, the great Sylvia Massey, for the first album. And she was kind of like, yeah, I think we need another track. We need something that's a bit more mellow or something like that. I remember being at home and I was learning to play the guitar, you know, just playing chords. And I played those 3 chords and those words kind of came into my head. Weak as I am, no tears for you. I remember thinking, oh, something there, I'll take it to the band. And I think I wrote a couple of verses and a chorus. And then I kind of was thinking, hey, this is kind of like a nice B-side, you know, it's kind of something that's more like a nice B-side and more chilled. And I took it into the band and I kind of played it and they were like, oh, we love it. And we just straight away finished it. We wrote Middle 8 and just finished the track. It's one of those things that just came together really quickly. But lyrically, the lyrics came out really fast because, as I say, you know, I think for the first time I thought about that time and that incident and that period of my life and how life-changing it was. And it was about, I remember I'd kind of like escaped out of the house because, you know, this guy this ex-boyfriend had kind of put me in this room in his house. And I kind of escaped and I ran down the road. And he caught me. You know, he drove up in his car. I went to a bus stop because I was like, I'm in North London. How do I get to South London, to Brixton? And I was waiting out for some night bus somewhere and he caught me and threw me in the car. And I remember driving back to the house thinking, man, I'm going to get this shit beaten out of me now. And the minute he kind of put me in the room and I sat on the bed thinking, okay. And he just started crying and started being so apologetic. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Because I guess he thought, well, I can't, unless I kill her, I'm going to have to let her go. I'm going to have to take her back home. And I just remember sitting in the bed going like, you know, weak as I am, I feel really, but I haven't got any tears for you. I'm the one that should be crying. Why are you crying? You know, you hit me. And that's where the whole song came out of that. So it's the song for me has a very emotional connection. And it's also the kind of one of the first songs I wrote on my own. The second album, Stush, had Hedonism on it. And that's when we went to a completely different level. You know, we were popular and we were doing well. And then Hedonism came out and MTV just rinsed it. So yeah, that made us popular and like a whole. I mean, MTV, it's hard to explain how big MTV was at the time. I think the kids now don't really have an idea. It was as big as social media, I guess. And so if you were on heavy rotation on MTV, which we were with that song, then that was like huge. You know, it was all the radio stations would play you and all that kind of stuff. And then comes the third album, the difficult third album. The second album was really not that difficult. It was difficult to record, but not that difficult because it was just riding a wave. And there was a bit of a gap between the second and the third. And, you know, we wanted to come back with something different. We didn't want to just come back with the first album or the second album again. And for me, Charlie Big Potato was this track that still kind of sends shivers down my spine. It came together quite easily. And it came together from this riff that Ace came up with, da-da-da-da-da-da. You know what, for years that little brute told this big lie about how he was standing in the reception of and had a fax machine doing it. And it's only recently I was like, yeah, I just made that up. I was like, you little shit. But I believed him all this time that actually that's where the riff, so I don't know where the riff came up from. But it was that riff, and then I just started singing something completely opposite on top of it. Do you know, this is one of those songs that it works because everybody in the band did something completely different than their instrument would normally do. So Ace goes da 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 da, and Cass goes do 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 do, like a different bass line. He didn't just go with the riff. He wandered around it. He took the same timing, rhythm, and then he wandered his bass line around it. And it's beautiful because it's so musical, rather than having just the riff and then everybody just playing along with that riff. And then Mark kind of did this kind of staccato thing and then just opened it out, you know, started playing different things around it. And then I, instead of just singing some, you know, I just kind of went, are you away? It's this lovely kind of floaty, it's almost ethereal thing on top. Because we're always kind of looking at ways to do things differently rather than just do what a normal rock band would do, because we all have very different backgrounds and different energies to us. And so that's why I love that song so much, because it's like 4 different things going on at the same time. I really love Without You because it's one of those songs that in many ways on the album it kind of almost it disappeared because there's so many other tracks that people liked more. But live, there's something about that track that comes together. And it really is such a great song to play live. And it's like a live favourite. So even on an album, it's almost like a B-side on an album. It doesn't really jump out at you. But there's like a bit of sparkle just that comes together when that song. It's like, I would say, one of my top 3 songs to play live. And it's part in a set where I get to kind of chill out and just play a bit of guitar. The vocal is very mournful. It's very like, wake me up, da 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 da. You know, it's kind of dub stuff going on, but with a vocal that's like an octave above, so it really jumps out at you. It was Metallica's biggest track. Do you know what I mean? I think that a lot of very big rock bands, they are very attached to their vulnerabilities. It's like the best rappers, the ones that are attached to their vulnerabilities. And that comes out in a song every now and then. And so you get these huge rock bands that will just write a delicate track. Piggy brings a smile to my face. It's before the single came out, a new single, Piggy was one of those, like we just knew this song it's just like a live favourite. It's just a song where you can just go mad. It's just really heavy. And it's just about all these greedy people we just have to deal with nowadays, you know, that people are just so intent on sucking up as much money and as much power as possible. And so that's really what that song is about. And I just get to scream my ass off on that song and I just love it. It's just full on in your face. And it was a time we were in between management at the time. Our manager just retired. It was our first tour post-COVID. And I think we were one of the first bands to go out on tour post-COVID. And so we did the video ourselves backstage one day and did the T-shirts, did everything ourselves between us as a band. And I just like that kind of, it was nice to go back to that DIY Skunk Anansie, because that's how we started, you know. We used to do our T-shirts, our posters, our gigs. We just did everything ourselves. And so that was a moment where we just kind of came together as a band and like did that song and did the video. Mark recorded it, Mark edited it, and put it all together. It's just a fat ass riff, and just like I think that when you get older, I think that you don't lose your fire. You just become more directional with it, and more succinct at describing it. So whereas in the early days, you know, we just get like, ah! Now we're like, ah. You know, it's like you work out where you're going to put your aggression, and you know, so they will have maximum effect. And that's what I think happens. You know, you don't weed out, you don't get softer, you don't get mellower, you just get better at it, and you get more succinct with where that you're going to stick that knife in. Yeah. So I'm not just going to stab you everywhere. I'm just going to put it here, and then you're dead. It came out of like, I'm always, if I have an idea, I just record it into my phone and put something in the notes back next to it. And so it just came from this rant. I think that as artists, as Skunk Anansie, we really have to think about what we want to do post-COVID. You know, we lost our manager who retired, and there was a point where we had to say, well, do we carry on or not? You know, I don't think bands have to carry on. I think it's quite good when they feel that they've got nothing more to say as a band, then just stop. And so I think we had that conversation. But when we put that song together, we go to this place in Devon. When we put that song together, that kind of showed us that we had the ability to still be great, you know, because I really believe that this is a great song. And then when Dave Sitek from TV and Radio, when he got hold of it, he took it to new heights because it sounded great when we recorded it and wrote it. And then Dave took it and made it fresh and modern, which we will be eternally grateful to him for. And you know, that was the first song in the recording studio that we were like, this is it. This is the sound of new Skunk Anansie. This is what we're going to sound like, and this is the direction we want to go in. So that in some ways became the point that we had to get to and better. Because we wrote a bunch of songs and they were here. And we wrote that was like here. And we're like, okay, that's where we are now. And everything we do in the studio from now on has to be at this level. So it really became the foundation for the record, you know. And also, you know, it's just something I feel like a lot of us feel. That's how we feel, you know. It's like, what does it mean to be an artist now in this social media world and in this kind of world where there's a lot of toxic negativity, and in this world where everything that you're about is just henpecked and stripped down and destroyed. And that seems to be the modern way, that an artist puts something out and everyone just destroys it. And so there's like, you know, it's cheeky, you know, there's a couple of very cheeky lines, mine being an artist till death do us departest. And, you know, I didn't hang around to be my own echo. You know, I didn't hang around to just keep repeating myself. You know, there's a lot of like nice single lines in there. My favourite is a tongue twister. I put a deliberate tongue twister in there. An artist is an artist when they want to be an artist, because the narcissist and artist is beautiful. That's the middle eight. And there's just a lot of words that kind of sum up how I feel and how the band and all we feel. And a lot of artists feel about what it means to do what they want to do, what it means to be creative, you know, and how we are the creators. And sometimes you guys just need to fuck up and enjoy or not enjoy. But you don't also need to comment and destroy the artist and try and take something away from the artist. And you don't need to put out your first ignorant thought and write that down as a comment. You know, think about it. What do I want to say about this if I want to say anything? And most of the time I think people should just shut the fuck up. You ain't got nothing to say. You haven't done any research. You don't know about this band. You don't know about the art world or about the interior design world or architecture. You don't know about these things with any depth at all. So to say something's terrible or to say something's awful, it's like just, you know, stop with the first ignorant thought and just think about it. And I think half the time people would just say, you know what, I'm just going to move on, keep scrolling. And so that's the kind of the base of that song. And I feel very strongly that social media has just become, most of the time, there's a lot of good in it, but a lot of the time it's just been a very difficult way for artists to express themselves, because they just get so much pushback from people who have no knowledge and no experience and no research and no nothing. And you have to listen to this. It's like, if I was in a room with you, I wouldn't have to listen to you, I would just destroy you.